In addition to maintaining enrollment and knowing the sources of revenue, the third way that a board can ensure adequate resources for a school is through fundraising and grant writing activities. Other than federal and state funds, approximately what percent of the school's revenue comes from fundraising and grant writing? The answer is approximately 2%. In a similar way to how the board monitors the process, they have specific responsibilities when it comes to fundraising and grant writing. First, the board needs to ensure that there is an approved policy guiding the school's fundraising and grant writing efforts. This includes establishing a projected dollar amount in the budget. As the board reviews its fundraising and grant writing policy, here are some things they may want to consider. Should kids be required or allowed to be involved in fundraising? What is the school's philosophy on fundraising? Who can fundraise? Classes, students, PTOs, or other organizations? How does the school relate to outside organizations raising funds? Since the money is in the board account, the board decides how it is spent. Who can use the school's tax-exempt status? At what grant amount does the board require approval? Or, how often does the board want status updates on fundraising and grant writing efforts? Next, in addition to an annual plan, the board should require monthly or quarterly reports on the status of the school's fundraising and grant writing efforts. If the funds raised are significantly different than the budgeted amounts, the board would then require administration to present a modified plan. While a charter school is a nonprofit, it's also a public school. And unlike most nonprofits, charter school board members are not required to donate large sums of money to fundraising campaigns. This is neither a prerequisite for being on the board or remaining on the board. If you're unclear about your board's policy on fundraising and grant writing, or the status of your board's fundraising and grant writing budget, consider requesting that this be added to a future agenda, and take time for questions. A fourth way for board members to ensure their school have adequate resources is to remain current with legislation affecting charter schools and participate in the lobbying process. Education funding is a significant portion of the state's general budget. It's therefore a target for those seeking other priorities in the use of tax dollars. While there are a number of organizations seeking to influence the legislature regarding charter schools, MACS continues to be the trusted voice for charter schools, lobbying on behalf of all charters across the state. MACS member schools help to set the legislative priorities and participate on MACS Government Affairs Committee. During the legislative session, MACS provides regular updates on legislation under consideration that affects charter schools. MACS also coordinates an annual Charter School Day at the Capitol, where all charter school leaders have the opportunity to meet with their legislators at the Capitol, providing opportunities to make personal connections, discuss charter-friendly legislative priorities, and invite legislators to their schools. Board members need to be prepared to contact legislators about upcoming legislation. In the quiz following this lesson, you'll be asked to become familiar with your legislative district